Welcome to Revisit Books podcast, where we turn books into bite-sized wisdom you can use every day. So today, we are jumping right into a subject that I think fundamentally changes how you view your professional life. We're talking about the real secret to career fulfillment. And the authors of the book we're discussing argue it has, well, almost nothing to do with what you're good at and everything to do with who you are.
That is the core electrifying premise of Do What You Are by Paul Tieger, Barbara Barron, and Kelly Tieger. Their whole idea is it's brilliantly straightforward. If you want sustained, deep, intrinsic career satisfaction, you have to align your work with your core innate personality type, not just your skills.
And I think that resonates so deeply because for decades, the whole professional world has been telling us to focus on what they call the big three. Your abilities, your interests, your values. But this book says that whole way of thinking isn't just incomplete. It might actually be misleading if you start there.
It is, because it's only looking at the surface. The authors really tackle this universal struggle, People are masters at knowing what they don't like about their job. They've learned that from burnout, from experience.
Oh, yeah.
But they're completely paralyzed when they try to find a fulfilling alternative. It's that internal wrestling match between what the market says we should do and what we genuinely feel driven to do.
So the advice is actually revolutionary.
Yeah.
It's stop looking at the external requirements first. Concentrate on your internal wiring. Concentrate on who you are. And if you can anchor your decisions in those natural preferences, they argue the rest just. It all falls into place.
And this isn't just, some speculative theory. The framework they use is derived from highly, highly respected personality models. I mean, a majority of Fortune 500 companies use this stuff daily. Not for hiring, but for motivation, communication.
For team dynamics.
Exactly. For team dynamics.
Right.
It's like a language for self-management.
And crucially, it's not a test you just take once and then you file it away in a drawer somewhere. The book frames this knowledge as an ongoing resource, something you're meant to revisit every few years, to ensure that you and your career continue to grow together instead of apart.
That's the key, because you change. The economy changes. Your job changes. Self-knowledge is a resource you have to manage, especially now when careers are all about evolution, not permanence.
Okay, so who is this really for? Who is the ideal person to pick this up? I think we have to start with the most obvious group, maybe the most stressed out one, the career changer.
Oh, absolutely. If you've ever done it, changing careers is not a gentle slope. It is a chaotic, stressful roller coaster ride. It can take months, and when you're in that free fall, you desperately need a map. This is that map. It gives you the confidence to start eliminating choices that will just lead to frustration.
And then there's the person who's just curious, the lifelong learner. They might be settled in their career, but they're always looking for that next level of self-awareness. And this framework gives you insights into, every part of your life, not just work.
And from an organizational perspective, it's gold for managers. I mean, think about it. If you understand the natural preferences and the pressure points within your group, you can stop fighting against personalities and start leveraging them.
You can communicate better.
You can communicate so much better because you finally understand why one person needs to talk it out and another needs to go away and think for an hour.
And that stretches right into the home, too. I mean, for parents, it's a whole new perspective on why your kids are the way they are. It can transform family dynamics.
Invaluable for couples, too. It helps partners move past that frustration with each other's habits. You start to understand, accept, and even appreciate the differences. Knowing your partner is a judger helps you understand why leaving a decision open makes them physically anxious.
Right. Or why your perceiver partner finds your rigid weekend schedule to be, completely stifling.
Exactly.
And finally, there's this really important and growing group of people, the baby boomers looking for a meaningful second act, or what the book calls encore careers. People are leaving their first big career at 55 or 60, and they might have another 20 years of working life left.
That's a massive amount of time. Way too long to spend doing something unsatisfying. This gives them a real opportunity to use the wisdom they've gained, all the stuff they learned they don't want, to finally choose a path that is, as the book says, considerably more satisfying. It's about making sure that second act is deeply intrinsically rewarding.
All right, so let's get into the mechanics of this, the building blocks. The book kicks off with the 4 foundational dimensions of personality, and they use this brilliant analogy for it, the idea of handedness.
It's the perfect analogy because it completely removes any idea of good versus bad. Think about signing your name. With your preferred hand, it's comfortable, it's automatic, effortless.
Right, you don't think about it.
You don't. Now, try it with your non-preferred hand. You can do it, but it takes so much concentration, so much energy, and the result is...
It's clumsy. It's not as good.
Exactly. And that's how these personality dimensions work. We all use both sides, but we have an innate, comfortable preference we default to.
Okay, so the first dimension, this one's all about where you focus your energy. It's extroversion, or E, versus introversion, or I.
Yeah.
And the book immediately throws out the common idea that this is just about being talkative or shy.
That's the critical first step. It's not about sociability, it's about orientation. Extroverts, the E's, they focus their attention on the outer world. People, activities, things, they get their energy from external interaction.
They act, then think.
They act, then think. They think out loud, which makes them pretty easy to read. And they tend to prefer, breadth over depth in their experiences.
There's that great story about Bill at the party that really shows this. He and his wife, both extroverts, go to this huge company party. They immediately separate. And Bill just spends the whole night mingling with dozens of people. He leaves feeling totally energized, charged up by all that interaction.
And on a flip side, you have the introverts, the I's. They focus their energy on the inner world, ideas, reflections, their own thoughts. They think, then act. They need privacy to process things deeply before they speak. They listen more, and they absolutely prefer depth over breadth.
And if you don't understand this, it can cause huge problems at work, like the story of Jerry, the introvert. A new coworker meant well, but after being invited to Jerry's home, he publicly described all the personal treasures he saw there. Jerry was furious.
He was furious because for an introvert, that's a profound violation of their private internal space. The extroverted coworker saw it as a friendly act of sharing. It's a total communication breakdown, and it's rooted purely in where they get their energy.
So that's the first dimension, energy. Once we figure that out, the next logical step is, how do we gather information? This brings us to the second dimension, sensing, or S, versus intuition, which is N.
Right. And this is all about what kind of information you naturally trust. Sensors, the S's, focus on realities, facts, details, the observable present, the here and now. They are excellent at noticing and remembering specific data. They trust what's tangible and what's worked before.
Like Elizabeth at that cosmetics company in the book. When the president presented these grim financial figures, she immediately got it.
Yeah.
Because she focused on the precise numbers, the black and white facts, the reality of the situation.
Exactly. Whereas intuitives, the N's, are completely different. They focus on possibilities, underlying patterns, the big picture. They're less concerned with the immediate details and more interested in the interpretation, the context, the implication.
The meaning behind the facts.
Yes, the meaning. They're always looking ahead, seeing what could be.
And this difference can be really startling. Take Jim, Elizabeth's intuitive colleague. He might not have known the exact numbers, but he instantly grasped the implication of those figures. He saw the pattern, or that example of Steve after the car crash. He couldn't give the police many factual details, but he was all about the bigger picture. Who had insurance? What the accident meant.
Yes, the facts were almost secondary to the possibilities they suggested. And this is why some people are amazing at, say, quality control, which is a sensing job, while others thrive in strategic planning, an intuitive's dream. You need both in a company, but you really, really need them in the right roles.
Okay, so this third dimension feels like the one that causes the most open conflict, especially at work. It's how we make our judgments. Thinking, or T, versus feeling, or F.
Oh, absolutely. Thinkers make decisions impersonally. Their whole basis for judgment is objective analysis, logic, weighing the evidence. They pride themselves on being detached and fair, even if the conclusion is unpleasant. They prioritize the rational consequence.
Right, the classic example is Ernie, the thinker boss, who has to do layoffs. He genuinely likes Ted, the loyal, longtime employee. But he decides to lay Ted off in favor of a younger, cheaper employee with more potential. He used strictly logical criteria. What's best for the company's bottom line. The personal feelings were irrelevant to the objective analysis.
And then you have the feelers. They decide personally. They base their judgments on their values, on empathy, compassion, the human impact. They prioritize harmony and what they believe is right for the people involved.
And Tom, Ted's supervisor, gives that perfect feeler counterargument. He argues passionately to keep Ted, focusing entirely on the human side of things. Ted's loyalty, his family situation, the impact on team morale if they see loyalty isn't valued. It's a direct clash of logic versus compassion.
It is. And it's so important here to mention what the book calls falsification. Society often pushes men toward that detached thinker role and women toward the sympathetic feeler role. The statistics, 2/3 of men test as thinkers, 2/3 of women as feelers. That hints at socialization, not just innate preference. So finding your true preference, not the one you were taught to have, can be incredibly liberating.
That's a huge point. If you're constantly fighting your gut instinct, whether that gut is logical or compassionate, you're just burning energy all day long.
All day.
Okay, so the final piece of the puzzle, the fourth dimension.
Yes, our external orientation, how we like to structure our outside world. This is judging, or J, versus perceiving, P, and it's all about your need for closure.
Judgers, who are about 60% of the population, they like a structured, orderly world. They are happiest after a decision is made. They have that strong work first, play later ethic. They want closure.
They need it. A judger gets a brochure for a conference and immediately decides what to do with it. Toss it, sign up, or pass it on. Done. That item is off their mental to-do list. They find uncertainty stressful.
And then you have the perceivers,
Yeah.
the other 40%. They want to keep their options wide open. They are happiest when decisions are left unresolved so things can develop. They're famous for their just for now piles and, well, procrastination.
That procrastination comes from a deep-seated hatred of committing too early. The book talks about Cynthia, the perceiver volunteer doing a newsletter. She was talented, but it was always late because she kept waiting for more facts or wanted more flexibility. Her need to keep options open meant she drove her judger colleagues absolutely crazy.
So it's a tension between making a decision too early versus missing the deadline entirely. Understanding that dynamic probably explains half of all the scheduling conflicts in any office.
At least have, yes.
So now we have these four dimensions. The book then takes it a step further. It groups the 16 personality types into 4 core temperaments.
And this is where the real career insight starts to click into place, because these temperaments are based on deep-seated values and what truly motivates you at work.
The first group is the traditionalists. They're the SJs, a combination of sensing and judging, and they are a huge part of the population, right? Almost half.
46%, yes. They are the guardians of our institutions. They're driven to be of service. They value stability, order, and clear rules. Their whole purpose is making sure systems work reliably. They are the backbone of any organization, practical, organized, systematic.
And what do they need from their work?
They absolutely need to see tangible results from their effort, and they need clear expectations. They despise ambiguity. Think of Jay, who left the chaotic world of running a business to teach high school history. He chose the structure of a school and the tangible satisfaction seeing students grow.
So careers like accounting, law enforcement, administration, things with clear rules and outcomes.
Precisely. And what stresses them out is constant change, vague expectations, or working in a chaotic place where nobody sticks to the schedule.
Okay, next up, the experiencers, the SPS sensing and perceiving.
These are the artisans. They need to be active and free to act on impulse. They are intensely focused on the here and now. They value spontaneity and masterful acts. They are the people who excel in a crisis. Their work environment has to be free from excessive rules and long-term planning. They learn by doing.
They thrive on excitement and risk. So, police officers, stockbrokers like John in the book who get that adrenaline rush, or Christine, the military tech, who loves the hands-on, immediate challenge of fixing life-saving equipment.
Exactly. And their stressors are the opposite of the traditionalists. Too much paperwork, long-range strategic meetings, repetitive tasks. Anything that constrains them and feels pointless, they need to be in the action.
Then we have the idealists, NFs, intuition and feeling, about 15% of people.
The humanists. They are focused on human potential, on meaning, and on connecting with people authentically. They're gifted at helping others grow. Their work has to align with a personal mission. They are amazing communicators, natural conflict resolvers, deeply empathetic.
This is Deb, who left corporate HR to become a marriage and family therapist. She needed to find her authentic self and work on real human problems.
Yes. For idealists, their work is about who they are, not just what they do. They gravitate towards counseling, teaching, ministry, writing, anywhere they can facilitate growth and meaning. And what stresses them out is any environment that feels inauthentic, competitive, or forces them to ignore their values.
And finally, the smallest group, the conceptualizers or NTs, intuition and thinking.
Only about 10%. These are the strategists and the architects. They are on a lifelong quest for knowledge, intellectual challenges, and competence. Their strengths are being visionary, logical, strategic. They are exceptional problem solvers. And they demand incredibly high standards.
They need work that constantly challenges their intellect. Like Skip, the creative producer solving huge abstract problems at a social media company. or venture capitalists like Phil, who trust their own logic over any kind of tradition.
For them, the work itself is the reward, especially if it involves seeing patterns others miss and their main stressors. Repetitive tasks being micromanaged or being constrained by rules they see as illogical or inefficient. They need autonomy.
Okay, so this leads to one of the most, I think, hopeful parts of the book.
Yeah.
The idea that your personality isn't set in stone. It's dynamic. This idea of type development, especially around midlife.
Yes, the midlife shift, it's when people start to subconsciously develop their weaker, less comfortable functions. You've
Yeah.
mastered your dominant skills, and the idea of just repeating that for another 20 years feels unchallenging.
Stale.
Exactly. So your psyche pushes you to round out your personality. To go back to that handedness analogy, you start actively training your non-dominant hand, building up your psychological toolkit.
And that shows up in real life as new hobbies or new interests, right?
Yeah. Tangible ways, yes. If you're developing your sensing function, you might suddenly get into cooking or gardening or exercise, concrete, real-world things. If you're developing intuition, you might get interested in abstract concepts, spirituality, the big picture.
The book mentions Marty, an ISFP, a strong feeler. At age 38, he suddenly becomes fascinated with why people behave the way they do. He starts thinking about counseling. That's his intuition, his third function, starting to come online.
It is. Or look at Phil, the feeler who always avoided confrontation. But when he had to deal with a faulty product, his newly developed thinking function kicked in. He was able to demand fairness and objectivity, prioritizing justice over just keeping the peace with the store manager. That's a massive new tool for him.
And that shift is often why people change careers in their 40s or 50s. It's not that they failed, it's that what used to satisfy them now feels stifling because it's not challenging these new parts of themselves.
Precisely. They are seeking an environment that demands they use those newly developing functions.
So how do we make this practical? The book gives some very direct advice, whether you're job searching or just trying to improve the job you have.
If you're searching, you absolutely must use your edge strengths. An extrovert should use their natural enthusiasm, but they need to be careful. They have to discipline that energy to focus on the employer's needs, not just their own excitement.
And idealists, the NMFs, should use their ability to read people. The example of John interviewing for a personnel manager job is great. He used his perception to understand the interviewer's needs and built this powerful, immediate rapport. That's what set him apart.
A thinker, on the other hand, should pitch their objective analysis and quantifiable results, show you've analyzed their problems and have logical, evidence-based solutions.
And it's also about covering your blind spots. A perceiver who hates to commit has to force structure on their job search. Make a timetable. Intentionally cross things off the list.
Otherwise, they get paralyzed by too many options.
And what if you're staying put, trying to love the job you've got?
The great news is that most jobs have more flexibility than we think. You can almost always massage your role to better fit you. If you're an introvert, you have to negotiate for that uninterrupted thinking time. Close your door. Block out your calendar.
An intuitive could volunteer for a strategic planning committee, something that feeds that need for the big picture.
Yes. A perceiver who needs structure could recruit an organized assistant or partner with a judge or colleague to stay on track. And an experiencer could look for ways to inject some novelty, like lobbying for casual Fridays. It seems small, but it can change the whole feel of the workplace.
So the core message is really about empowerment. Understanding your type gives you the language and the tools to actively shape your work environment to fit you, instead of just passively hoping it will change.
That proactive adjustment is the key. That's the path to long-term career resilience. So if you take away just one thing from all this, it should be that true satisfaction. It comes from honoring your fundamental self, not just from maximizing a skill. The book provides the structure, but the real value is in that journey of self-discovery.
And that journey, clarifying your unique mix of preferences, is what the authors call the formula for career satisfaction. It's the proof that the most satisfying work is the work that just naturally uses your dominant, comfortable strengths.
I mean, if you've ever had a job that looked perfect on paper, good pay, good title, but it just felt empty, chances are that job was forcing you to live permanently out of type. It was demanding constant, draining effort from your non-preferred functions.
So reclaiming your true personality is the most crucial step. It's about defining success on your own terms.
It is. So for you listening right now, the challenge is to think about where your greatest energy drain is coming from. Is your job forcing you to be a T when you're an F, an S when you're an N? Pinpointing that source of friction is the first step to correcting your course and making your job, your current one or your next one, feel like it was truly made for you.
That's today's breakdown. While this discussion cannot replace the book's full text, it can offer a glimpse into its teachings. Hope you found this discussion helpful, and I look forward to sharing more. Let me know what book next you want to discuss.